Number 1, round the following measurement to the nearest 10 and convert your result into inches. First step is to round. So nearest 10 is what we're looking for. And 3 is the tens place. So look behind that place value at the 5. 5 is higher, or whenever it's 5 or more, we round up. So we're going to round to 2,540. Now we're not given the conversion factor, but we can look it up, and it is about 2.54 centimeters is approximately 1 inch. So the next step is to convert to inches. So then we are going to divide, this 2,540 by 2.54. So you might be thinking, how do you know to divide? One way we've talked about is to make a proportion. So I can do this as 2,540 centimeters is equivalent to, we don't know how many inches, and that is equal to 2.54 centimeters to 1 inch. So then we solve this, cross multiply, so multiply 1 and 2,540 and divide it by the lonely number. So that's how I know to divide 2.54 into 2,540. So let me erase that to give myself some more room. 2.54 into 2,540. Well, I need to move that twice. So I start at the end, add 2 zeros. 254 now goes in once, bring up the zeros. So that's going to round to 1,000 inches. Number 2, write 3/4 as a decimal. So the numerator, or the top, goes into the division symbol. The denominator at the bottom goes on the outside. 4 into 3, that doesn't work, so I'm going to put a 0 as a placeholder. That'll help me remember where the numbers and the decimal points go. So I'm going to add a decimal point before I add the zeros. Now 4 into 30 goes 7 times. Multiply, subtract. In order to bring down, I have to add another 0. So now 4 into 20 is 5. So my decimal is going to be 0.75 or 0.75. Okay, number 3, we have simplify the expression. We're going to have to use order of operations, and so that we recall is PEMDAS, or parentheses exponents, multiplication, division left to right, addition, subtraction left to right. So if I use parentheses first, 11 minus 6 is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4. Now to help me, I'm going to keep writing everything else down. This is a very important step, especially as the expressions get longer and more complicated. So after that, I'm going to have to do exponents. Now notice I still have the brackets, but let me get rid of everything inside those brackets before I attack them. So exponents, 2 squared, and then 4 squared. So now I'm going to bring everything down. Now those parentheses around the 5, I don't need to bring down because there's nothing to do inside the parentheses. Now, those brackets, I can address them. I'm going to do what's in the brackets first, and then division comes before addition. So I'll divide 15 and 5, that's 3. And then I'm going to write everything else down. So now 7 plus 16, that's 23. Circle my final answer, and there you go. Number 4, write 2/5 as a percent. This is going to be a two-step depending on how you look at it. One way I can think of it as, well, we know percent is something over 100. So then we've learned this is a way we can deal with percent. If I cross multiply, I get 200 equals 5 times some number. We'll use x in its place. You can pick whatever letter you want except for e or I. Divide both sides by 5, and x is going to be 40%. We have to have that percent symbol because it's asking for percent. The other way is to divide the top by the bottom. And so we did this in number 2. And so we get 0.4. After that, you have to remember to move the decimal place twice because percent means per 100, so we have to multiply it by 100. We'll look at 5 and 6 together. Write 0.125 as a fraction. First thing I want to do is that last place digit. What value is that? That's the thousandths place. So you want to make sure you have those place values memorized. That means we're going to write 125 over 1,000. Now I can't leave that as my answer. It does not say to simplify, but it is implied. So remember, always try 2 or 3 or 5. So try those if you don't know where to start. I'm going to try 5 because I know anything that ends in 5 or 0 can be divided by 5. So if you need to, do some long division on the side. That's okay. That makes sure you get the right answer. I get 25, so I'll put 25 over, and I'll go and do the long division again. I get 200. So need to keep going. 5 goes into both of these. Now I have that one memorized, so I can put that there. And then I can divide 200 by 5, that's 40. So now, again, it's okay. Keep going till you can't divide anymore, and we get our answer of 1/8. Now for number 6, write 6.25 as percent. So we said in number 4, percent means 100, of 100. So times by 100 or move it twice, we get 625%. Number 7, write 14 over 4 as a mixed number. So right now it's improper because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So I'm going to divide that numerator by the denominator. That means top on the inside. 4 into 14, that goes 3 times, multiply, subtract, and then write that. So 3 becomes the whole number, 2 is the numerator, 4 is the denominator. Not done, have to simplify. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom of the numerator and denominator by 2, and we get 3 and 1/2. Number 8, anytime we're subtracting fractions, anytime we're subtracting integers, we are going to use the rule add the opposite. So we're going to rewrite this as an addition. And so we're going to add the opposite of the second number. So now, different signs subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So 4 minus 3 is 1. Bigger number is 4. So we're going to keep the negative of the 4 and we get -1. So 2 equations we might see. We're going to have to solve these. A, we need to get that by itself. So we can, anytime there's a fractional coefficient, we're going to want to multiply by the reciprocal. So in this case, 3/4, the reciprocal is 4/3. So that means I'm going to multiply both sides by 4/3. That means I can cancel out those. All that's left on the left-hand side is an A. Let me put a 1 under the 12. So then I can cancel out the 3 and the 12 to become 4 and 1. Multiply the -4 and +4, and we're going to get -16 for A. For the 2-step, here we have 2 variables. They're the same variable, so they're like terms. There's kind of an invisible 1 there, so that tells me the coefficient is 1. 3 plus 1 is 4, so we'll say 4n. 4n minus 9 equals 47. And we're supposed to get that n by itself still, isolate the variable. So we start with kind of the opposite of PEMDAS, or the inverse of PEMDAS. We're going to, instead of subtract 9, add 9 to both sides. And that's going to give me 4n equals 56. Now we have 4 times n, or 4 multiplied by n, so inverse is divide. So divide both sides by 4. Go ahead and do long division if you need to. And we get 14. So n is going to be 14. Number 11, the diameter of a circular garden is 6.5. So I can visualize it like this. Using 3.14 for pi, so pi is going to be approximately 3.14. Find the circumference, and they give us the formula, so we'll use that, to the nearest tenth. So this is 2-step, find the circumference and then round. So circumference, C is going to be pi, so we'll approximate it. Pi times the diameter. And that's based on the formula that we're given. Pi times d. So we'll have to multiply this. It's going to do some long multiplication. Remember to put that placeholder once you're done with the ones or that last end. add your two products. Now this is just one way of multiplying. And then there's 1, 2, 3, so 1, 2, 3. But it says round to the nearest tenth. 10th place, look behind it, it's a 1. Anything less than 5, we round down. So I have C is approximately 20.4, and we'll add on that units, yards. So C is approximately 20.4 yards. So when we're asked to make an equation, our first step is to identify the variable. Now that means pick a letter that makes sense. Pick a variable that makes sense. So let's read the question. You are buying supplies for the restaurant where you work. You receive $5.23 in change. If the supplies cost $124.77, how much did you give the clerk? So my variable, I'm going to go ahead and pick M for how much money did I give the clerk. So I'm going to define the variable. Money given to clerk is M. Now I have to make an equation. So I receive some amount. So I'm getting $5.23. The supplies cost $124.77. So if I give the clerk some amount minus the amount I give him back, that's going to be my total cost. That's one way to write the equation. Another way is the amount you give minus how much you spent is going to be what you get back. Either way, you'll end up with the same answer. Oh, I should have wrote M instead of X. So I'm going to add these two, 124.77 plus 523. And that's going to come out to $130. $36 is 20% of what amount? So I'm going to use the formula part over whole equals percent over 100. So part goes with is, 36 is, percent always goes over 100, so 20 over 100. That means I'm finding of what amount. So X is going to go as the whole. Cross multiply and divide. So I'm going to have 3,600 or 3,600 divided by 20. So I can cross out that last 0, 1 0 on each of them. 2 into 36. I'm going to go ahead and do long division. Bring up the 0. So the whole amount is $180. if you are charged a sales tax in Kern County of 7.5%, how much tax to the nearest cent would you pay on a shirt costing $14.99? Two-step question. First we find the tax, and then we have to round it to the nearest cent. So to find tax, we multiply the cost by the percent as a decimal. So 7.5%, that's the same as 7.5%. And then I move the decimal twice. So I'm really multiplying by 0.075. So we multiply that out. 9 times 5 is 45. Carry the 4. Multiply this out. 9 times 5 is 45 again. So we get placeholder for that digit. So that'll be 63. $28 plus 6. Add. And then how many decimal places? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that is the tax, but we need to round to the nearest cent. Cent is 200, or sorry, hundredths, so in this case 2. 4 behind it doesn't round, so it stays the same. So the tax is going to be $1.12. A clothing store is offering a 25% discount on all sports shirts in stock. For a shirt that normally sells for $30, find the discount and sell price, so 2 steps. And so it's going to count as 2 questions. So then discount first, multiply the price times the percent as a decimal. So move the decimal twice. So that's going to be $7.50. So let me label that discount is $7.50. So let me take that original price and minus $7.50. But I have to line up those decimals. Then I'm going to have to borrow. So I'm going to borrow from the 3, borrow from the 10, and it's going to be $22.50 for the sale price. If you deposit $800 in an account that earns 1.5% in simple interest, how much interest would you earn in 1 year? So the simple interest formula, I equals PRT. P is the principal, so that's starting amount, 800. R is that percent for interest as a decimal. So 1.5%, move the decimal twice, just like before. So we'll multiply this by 0.015. And time is 1 year, so I'm just going to leave that as a 1. One way I approach it is multiply the whole numbers first. 800 times 1, that stays 800. So I'm going to multiply that by 0.015. 0040, placeholder 008. So that is going to be 12,000, 123, 123. So the interest is going to be $12. Interest is in money, so I need to have that dollar sign. If our rectangular classroom has dimensions of 11 by 7, so 11 yards by 7 yards, how far is it all the way around the room? So that would be the perimeter. And if you wanted to buy carpet for the room, what's the floor area we'd have to cover? So there's two steps, area and perimeter. And now you need to distinguish between the two. So for perimeter, we add all the sides. So 11 plus 7 plus 11 plus 7, since there's 4 sides. So 22 plus 14. The perimeter is going to be 36 yards. Area is where we multiply the two sides. So it's just going to be 11 times 7. So area is going to be 77 yards squared, or square yards. Find the area of a triangle with base 9 inches and height 5 inches. So the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So we'll take half of base times the height. That'll be 45, and then half of 45. So then we divide 45 in half, or divide 45 by 2. And then from here you have the choice to either say 22.5 or 22.5. So area is going to be 22.5 inches squared, or 22.5 inches squared. convert the perimeter of a triangle with sides 0.6, 9, and 13 miles long into kilometers. First, so 2 steps, perimeter, then convert. Finding the perimeter, we're going to add the 3, but we have to be careful to line up the decimals. So 9 and 13 don't have decimals, so I need to make some for them. I'm going to put the decimals behind the numbers. 6, that'll be 12, 2, bring down the decimal point. So it's going to be a perimeter of 22.6 miles. The conversion factor is going to be 1 kilometer equals 0.6 miles. So then if I make a proportion, 1 kilometer is 0.6 miles, the 22.6 miles, finding the kilometers, cross multiply and divide. So we'll have to do 22.6 miles divided by 0.6 to get the conversion. Move the decimal over. 6 into 22, that'll go 3 times before 18. 6 into 46, that'll go 7 times. And then 0, 0. So that's going to be 6, 36, 4. So that 6 is going to repeat. So it's going to be 36.6 repeating, and that'll be kilometers. Area of a circle is a equals pi r squared, and we're told to use 22 over 7, so we'll have to use that when we plug in. We're finding something, the area of a circle with a radius of 14. So that's the half of a circle, and this is 14 inches. So let's plug in the numbers we're given. 22 over 7 for pi, 14 for r, and that's squared. So one way I would approach it is to expand that 14 squared, so 14 times 14. And then I can kind of cross cancel. So I'll get 7 into 14 goes twice. So now I'm multiplying 44 times 14 to get my area. So 16, carry the 1 placeholder. So that's going to be 616. So the area is 616 inches squared, and that should be approximately. When we're adding or subtracting fractions, we need to have common denominators. So I'm going to use my biggest denominator and see if my smaller ones can go into it. 7 can go into 14 twice, so I'll multiply that one by 2. 2 can go into 14 7 times, so I'll multiply that fraction by 7. And here we have negative 5 fourteenths plus 6 fourteenths minus 7 fourteenths. So then one way to do it is to combine like terms, or like signs, sorry. Negative 5 over 14 and negative 7 over 14, so that's negative 12 over 14 plus 6 over 14. Now that we have different signs, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so negative 6 over 14, but let me go ahead and reduce that. So we're going to end up with negative 3/7 as my answer. when we have mixed numbers and whole numbers, I'm going to look for fractions like denominators. Here it's two fractions, 10 and 10. They have the same denominator, so let me address those first. Now, one's a negative, one's a positive, so let me do the bigger number, 7/10 minus the smaller one. Since they're different signs, that's how I know to subtract. Those fractions cancel each other out, so we're left with 6. So this becomes 8 minus 6, which is 2. First step is to make these improper. So that's where we multiply and add. 16 plus 1 is 17. Keep the denominator. And then same thing, but now our denominator is 2. Whenever we're dividing, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So multiply and then flip another one, the second fraction. The 17s cancel out. The 4 and 2 can be divided, both reduced by a 2. So we end up with 1/2 for our answer.